Today we're checking out the most deadly, horrifying dinosaur to ever exist. Subscribe to Extinction because he's awesome. Leave a like and let's get into it. Alright, the absolute worst dinosaur you could get caught by.
When Jurassic World was released, we got a look at the first hybrid dinosaur in the series, the Indominus Rex, which was a proprietary blend of a variety of animals and dinosaurs. Then, not so long after, we got our second hybrid in Fallen Kingdom, the Indoraptor, or as it's sometimes nicknamed, the Indominus Raptor. A horror movie-worthy creation that enjoyed the perks of a body much larger than what's seen in most real dromaeosaurs, but still retaining a crazy level of agility, a sickle toe claw, and perhaps the hardest to miss, a set of slender man-like arms equipped with claws that would put Freddy Krueger to shame.
Which one of you goobers is calling it the Indominus Raptor? I guess that is what it's called, never mind.
And while it may be smaller than the Indominus Rex, this wombo combo of features certainly makes it a bit creepier, despite sharing many similarities. And it's no mystery why these two creatures share some aspects, as the Indoraptor itself was pretty much inspired by the question of what would happen if you combine the Indominus Rex with a real Velociraptor. But as it so turns out, we don't have to ask that question, because nature kind of already answered it for us, just a really long time ago. About 150 million years ago, to be exact.
Is this video about to say there's a real-life Indoraptor? That's pretty freaking exciting, because the one in the movie didn't do much.
As it was then, during the Mesozoic, that a family of theropods emerged who were strikingly similar in appearance to the Indoraptor, but were in some ways even more bizarre and arguably more deadly. These were the Megaraptorans.
Aha!
Like the Indoraptor, this group is shrouded in secrecy and mystery thanks to their minimal fossil record. And to date, researchers can't even agree on where they come from or what they are. But there is no argument that they would have made for the perfect Jurassic Park villains, as each one followed the same nightmarish body plan, which included this. What you're seeing here isn't a giant sickle claw on some supersized raptor's foot.
I love the dinosaur community. You want to see something deadly? Look at this big ass foot. It's the only community where a big foot is like woof, you know what I mean?
But a hand, of all things. And it belonged to the Megaraptor, the holotype for the family, and the first Megaraptoran to be discovered.
If that thing would just get up, it'd be so much better off.
Being unearthed in Argentina before the turn of the century. And as its name suggests, paleontologists thought they had originally found a gigantic raptor, based on its massive claw, which they believed to have belonged to a foot.
Big feet.
However, we now know that this was a hand claw that sat on its first finger.
That's crazy.
And that it measured a whopping 30 centimeters or 12 inches, making it about the same length as the longest Bowie knives in existence, or just as long as your typical ruler.
That thing would shred us into pieces, like a freaking mountain lion with claws. A fraction of that will shred you into pieces, so can you even imagine?
This also meant that the Megaraptor literally had the longest claws of any predatory animal ever, a title that would only be beaten by none other than one of its own. As over the next 2 decades, many new genera belonging to this family were discovered, with a few being even scarier than their predecessor. And now the total number of Megaraptorans sits at 11 different genera. And crazy enough, these additional discoveries wound up teaching us that Megaraptorans' iconic weapons were somehow much more lethal than first thought, as these theropods didn't just have one built-in sword, but 2, as their second finger had their own enlarged recurved claws that were just like the first, i.e., shockingly sharp and very long.
I use these things in Path of Titans sometimes. It's horrible. They need a buff so bad. They're so terrible on their own, but their giant claws are freaking remarkable.
And what's crazy is that their claws were likely even longer in real life, as they were most likely covered in a keratinous sheath that might have added an additional 30% in length.
No way!
And now, while the third finger did not have giant claws like the first and second, it was still razor sharp and powerful. But what made these claws truly deadly wasn't only their shape and size, but also what backed them up, so to speak, as Megaraptorans had robust and proportionally large arms and hands that would have given theropods like the Tyrannosaurus Rex some pretty major insecurities. These arms were roped in thick muscles, and the bones were constructed in a way that made them durable and highly flexible.
That's essentially Wolverine what you're showing me.
Allowing Megaraptorans to freely maneuver their weapons around with speed, and letting them be used as either a sword or spear, depending on how they were feeling.
A spear?
Which in both cases would lead to catastrophic flesh wounds and massive internal damage. And even the death of the victim wouldn't have stopped the claw's onslaught.
I'm trying to figure out how to use a claw as a spear. Do you just like charge at it with your finger extended? I need to study this.
Since researchers think that Megaraptorans likely use their claws to rake carcasses and tear bodies apart, allowing them to access hard to reach meat and disembowel their food.
The turtle!
Now at this point I could stop here and still have it be plenty clear on why it would suck to be hunted by Megaraptorans.
Look at all that spaghetti!
Yet this isn't the full picture. Oh no. As to truly understand the extent of their brutality, we have to talk about prey body size. You see, if a dinosaur was large enough, it's thought that Megaraptorans would have hunted it by using giant fatal claw strikes and slashes to bring it down, before dicing their victim up into smaller edible pieces. This sounds bad enough. However, this is actually the lesser of two evils.
What am I looking at?
As for smaller dinosaurs, including what would be human-sized ones, the Megaraptorans did something much more unpleasant. They would first catch their prey, grip them, and pierce them like a shish kebab with their giant hooks, and then while they were still possibly alive, eat them. Kind of like a person eating a piece of pizza, only that the pizza is alive, has been impaled, and is definitely screaming. We know this is a possibility, as Megaraptorans all had hyper-flexible and well-developed shoulders that were unlike anything seen in most predators, implying a wide range of motion and the ability to lift things upwards towards their waiting mouths.
Trippy.
And despite not being as deadly as their horrendous claws, their mouths were no joke either, and in some ways were actually more interesting. Because unlike most predators that have similar teeth to their relatives, the Megaraptorans had vastly different ones among them, each seeming to take inspiration from other notorious dinosaurs. For example, the Megaraptor had similar frontal teeth similar to those seen in Tyrannosauroids, being chisel-like and having a D-shaped cross-section. Meanwhile, the Raptor's front teeth were like fangs of all things.
Look at those little front teeth.
It got weirder though, as others, such as the Straulovinator and Orcaraptor, had teeth more like Compsognathids and Dromaeosaurs, with the front sides being smooth and flat, while the backs were serrated and designed to cut. And the mimicking continued with the Fukuiraptor, who might have had the least visually appealing teeth of them all, with its laterally compressed blade-like dentition, which highly resembled the Carcharodontosaurus, who, as you may know, is rather well known for possessing shark-like teeth. Now what's interesting is that studies have shown that Megaraptorans probably couldn't bite down or open their mouths with that much force. But given just how efficiently designed their teeth were, that wasn't really an issue to having a deadly bite.
Yeah, they don't look like a strong bite type creature. They look like a grab and tear flesh type creature.
Especially when you remember that the arms already had more than enough killing potential as it was. It's here in the teeth that the Megaraptorans also arguably get a win over the Indoraptor.
Look how little, how silly the Indoraptor looks when he's got little baby feet. The feet really is the name of the game with dinosaurs, to be honest.
Because despite the Indoraptor's teeth looking kind of scary, they were quite small and designed more for gripping rather than tearing or puncturing. And nature's own monstrosities take the prize in size as well.
Dude, the Indoraptor had the least logical teeth I've ever seen on a dinosaur. Like, it's super cool and awesome, but like, those are horrible for like all intents and purposes. What could you do with those teeth? That poor thing
Quite
needs
small
braces.
And designed more for gripping rather than tearing or puncturing.
Yeah, those are grippy teeth.
And nature's own monstrosities take the prize in size as well. Because of all the members we know of, the closest to the stature of the Indoraptor would have been the Erosteon, an Argentinian genus who weighed 1.1 tons and measured 7.5 meters or 25 feet, nearly identical to the stats of Dr. Wu's creation.
Man, this would have been sweet.
But the crazy thing is that this is actually considered to be on the medium size for this family, not large, as they could get much bigger. In fact, nearly half of the Megaraptorans were larger than an Indoraptor, with the Orcaraptor, Megaraptor, and the Trataenia all being over 8 meters in length.
Monsters.
And at this size, some of them were the largest predators in their environment, and a few achieved some even more impressive feats. As currently the largest Australian theropod is thought to have been a Megaraptoran, a fitting animal for a country well known for their messed up wildlife. Still, it wasn't in Australia that you'd find the largest member. Far from it. As to meet a real giant, you'd have had to travel back to late Cretaceous Argentina, where if you were seriously unlucky, you would have encountered the Maip. Yes, you heard that right, the Maip.
I've been calling it a Maip like an idiot. That's the specific Megaraptor you could play as in Path of Titans. Maip, I've been saying that so wrong.
Let me tell you, this somewhat funny sounding name does not do it justice, as in reality, nothing about this giant theropod was comedic, especially for its prey. Not only was it the largest member in its family, but it was also a massive theropod in general.
The watermark on this says, "Gimme the Jimmy," which I'm supposed to think doesn't mean wieners?
With recovered bones suggesting a length of up to 10 meters or 33 feet. Longer than the length seen in the biggest conclusive Allosaurus specimens. At this size, Maip was no doubt the biggest and baddest theropod in Argentina, and it likely preyed upon pretty much everything, including a variety of ankylosaurs, hadrosaurs, and ornithopods.
I love
It might have
hadrosaurs.
even been able to hunt a coexisting titanosaur, the Nolatitan. by using its massive claws to tear and grip it, while its mouth could then be used to deal additional damage. And while no claw belonging to this beast has been found yet, researchers estimate, based on its closest living relatives, that they were at least 37.5 centimeters or 15 inches long, giving it the title of the predator with the largest claws, even when including Freddy Krueger in the running. And this is a notion that is adequately reflected by its name, which while may not sound intimidating in English, actually has a very sinister meaning, as it references a creature in Aonakink mythology known as the Shadow of Death that kills with cold wind.
What?
So yeah. Coming through a forest clearing and seeing one of these guys.
This video is really making me wonder who would win, like a beefed out dream version Freddy Krueger versus a fully regenerating Wolverine, like the ultimate claw fight.
Or really any Megaraptoran for that matter, would have been a heart-thumping moment. But what might really stop your heart is seeing one start to run, because the moment it lifted its foot, you'd suddenly realize that they were much faster than they should have been. And there's a reason for that. Many dinosaurs have hollow or pneumatized bones, meaning they were filled with air pockets. But in Megaraptorans, this pneumatization was taken to an extreme level. So extreme that only one other theropod is known to rival their hollowness, and that's the Neovenator. And what's interesting is that all of their bones possess this characteristic, but the ilium, vertebrae, and ribs were especially hollow, which together made Megaraptorans very light for their sizes. For example, the Megaraptor was only around 1 ton, while an Allosaurus of similar length might have been 50% heavier. And it got even crazier than
Interesting.
this, as some like the Australovenator might have been no more than 310 kilos or 680 pounds, despite being over 6 meters or 20 feet in length, which leads some paleontologists to think that certain genera were the cheetahs of their time.
Dude, being 20 foot length weighing 600 pounds is crazy. Like, that's actually nuts.
This surprising lightness helped turn this group into very agile and speedy killers.
They'd be so
kind of
fast.
like prehistoric ninja with giant shukos.
Oh, what the hell are those things? I need those right after this video ends.
And would have let even the larger ones chase down prey smaller than themselves, and stage stealthy ambushes. Not to mention, they also had leg bones that were relatively slender and similar in construction to those seen in Coelurosaurs, implying yet again more adaptations meant for running. And no surprise, such a design worked wonderfully to the misfortune of others. But unfortunately for them, this others could even include themselves, as fossil records have shown. Specifically, a Megaraptor specimen, an Argentinian
That poor
genus,
bird.
was found with a severely infected brain case, which is thought to have originated from 2 different puncture marks on the side of its skull that lo and behold matched the teeth found in its own mouth, meaning it came from a rival. The extent of the infection was so severe that the team who studied the skull believed that there is a greater than 50% chance that the individual succumbed to its injuries.
That's interesting and all, but look at this demon freaking weasel he's showing us right now. That thing is horrifying as hell, bro.
But it is this aggressive attitude combined with its build that ultimately allowed the Megaraptorans to establish an expansive dominion, with species being known from 3 different continents: Australia, Asia, and South America, with Argentina, Australia, Thailand, and Japan having been strongholds for members. In these countries, if you wanted to avoid running into one of these real-life Freddy Kruegers, you would have needed to steer clear from any sources of water, as Megaraptorans typically lived in wet environments, namely fluvial areas and coastlines, where prey would have been abundant and diverse. There's even some speculation that some members may have opportunistically hunted marine and semi-aquatic animals, such as crocodilians, large turtles, and big fish. In fact, once upon a time, paleontologists actually thought that hunting in the water was really the Megaraptorans' main way of acquiring food, with the idea that they used their large claws to ensnare and spear fish. But nowadays, based on all their other adaptations, it's believed to be an unlikely story, and there's near universal agreement that they were simply terrestrial hunters, who were many times the sole apex predators in their environment. However, this wasn't always the case, and fossil records indicate that they had quite the rivalry with Carcharodontosaurids, who were sometimes even bigger and specialized to tackle big game. This competition took place mainly in South America, and during it, the Megaraptorans preferred to play into their agility and speed, since it was only after the extinction of Carcharodontosauridae, 90 million years ago, that they underwent a rapid size increase. But funnily enough, despite their competition with the Carcharodontosauridae, they coincidentally shared a similar brain case shape and design, leading to some thinking that the two had comparable intelligence levels. Now, admittedly,
That'd be such a trippy fight. Both the same intelligence. One's way quicker, more agile, and that kind of stuff, and the other's just bigger, bulkier, and more fit to handle large things. I could just totally see that fight going down in Path of Titans.
Carcharodontosaurids are no Indoraptor when it comes to intelligence.
Oh.
But they have been compared to crocodiles, who despite misconceptions, can actually be quite smart, and are known to occasionally set traps, coordinate, and even once in a while, use tools to lure prey.
Are you telling me that that animal specifically used those sticks for camouflage and it didn't just come up with the sticks right there? I don't know. Although I imagine it's very hard to find a photo example of what he just said. This is just the best one.
So that's all to say. If any of this rubbed off on the Carcharodontosauridae, and thereby Megaraptorans,
Look at those calves!
neighboring herbivores would have been in for quite the nasty surprise. Despite this shared similarity and the two's close but questionable relationship, Megaraptorans are currently believed not to be part of the Carcharodontosauria. And actually, no one really knows what these enigmatic killers were.
What?
Obviously they have their own family, but to which group of theropods they belong to is unknown.
Aliens.
As their name suggests, originally paleontologists thought they were giant dromaeosaurs, but this has since been discarded since they don't have enlarged toe claws. Then
all
they
about the
thought
feet.
the Megaraptorans are part of the Neoventoridae, given the similar hollowed bones, but that didn't last either. And since then, two new schools of thought have emerged, with one side believing them to be tyrannosauroids, meaning their closest relatives were possibly tyrannosaurids, or they were simply non-tyrannosauroid coelurosaurs, which doesn't really tell us much either. And the mystery surrounding this group doesn't end with classification, as we also don't know where they come from.
Them being such an incredible dinosaur called Megaraptors, for God's sakes, and not knowing where they came from, where like anything above there, it makes it very interesting and cool. I like to believe ancient civilizations made this hybrid.
Currently, the best guess is that they originated
Prometheans?
in Asia, possibly during the final days of the Jurassic.
Or that.
From there, they wound up in Australia sometime in the early Cretaceous. After that, they ended up doing very well and became highly diversified, eventually carrying on their conquest to South America, likely arriving there via Antarctica. So quite the explorers, on top of being the perfect killing machines. And actually, they were so good at being hunters and simply existing, that you could make the argument that Megaraptoran traits were more effective than what other theropods had. Because if you compare this group's survival time against others, it's basically a clean sweep. For example, Tyrannosauridae achieved an existence of about 16 million years, Spinosauridae 46 million, Carcharodontosauridae 64, Megalosauridae 25 million, and you get the idea.
Are we even at 1 million yet as Homo sapiens sapiens? I don't know, I gotta look more into human evolution. I never do. Humans are boring.
Meanwhile, the Megaraptorans clocked an existence spanning over 84 million years, making them among the longest lived dinosaur groups, period. And opposed to some animals that tend to get smaller through time, it seems that they only got scarier and more overpowered, as the last iteration and surviving member happened to be the biggest and arguably the most deadly. And of course, I'm talking about the Maip itself. And when you have a family as messed up as this, it really makes you wonder, how did they even go extinct? Well, it turns out that Mother Nature herself couldn't get the job done, because like the non-avian dinosaurs as a whole, the Megaraptorans were only wiped out after a giant meteor slammed into the Earth 66 million years ago.
Man, that meteor ruined everything.
To all non-avian dinosaurs and the last of the Megaraptorans.
Oh, man.
And to this day, we're still waiting for a new animal to pop up that has claws even close to as impressive as theirs. Thanks for watching, and until next time, on Extinct Zoo.
What a beautiful channel, beautiful video, beautiful ending, everything about that. This video was freaking awesome. Very depressing ending though. It was so, like, I don't know. That meteor really ruined so much cool stuff, but it took everything from us like that. It's so unfortunate. I just like to think how these things would have continuously evolved over like 100 million years, but no, we got nothing. Stupid freaking space rocks. Either way though, this was a very interesting video. Megaraptors are freaking awesome. Making a video on this was a gangster thing to do. Extinct Zoo, you freaking rock. This is like my favorite dinosaur channel these days. But just if you made it to the end, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.